Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Ashrafil Anbiya wal Mursaleen, Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'een. Amma ba'd, fa'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Now, the first hadith which we are going to look at in today's lesson, in today's lecture, is a hadith which can be found in Musnad Ahmad, narrated by the third Khalif of Islam, narrated by the son-in-law of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Sayyiduna Uthman radhiyallahu anhu, and he narrates that قال إن رجالا من أصحاب النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم حين توفي حزنوا عليه, which means that the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam were in grief, were in shock, were totally upset when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam left this world. Hatta kada ba'duhum yuwaswisu, to the extent that some of them were feeling waswasas or doubts or insinuations in their hearts. Now, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away, it was, as all of the brothers and sisters know, that it was a very difficult time for the companions. The person who they looked up to for help, for support for 23 years, had just all of a sudden had left this world. So they were totally in grief, totally upset. And also at the same time, their hearts and their minds were playing games in terms of what's now going to happen to us. Sometimes it happens that a mother or a wife who's also a mother, if she loses her husband, if the husband passes away and she's got young kids, so she kind of asks herself, oh look, my husband's passed away, who's going to look after my children? Who's going to support us? Who's going to maintain us? So then she is so shocked, in grief, overcome, that she starts questioning a lot of things, that what's going to happen to my children, what's going to happen to me. But obviously Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens doors for this particular mother, opens doors for this particular wife. What could happen? She may get married to somebody else. Something may happen that she's okay and also the children are okay. So exactly the same, the Sahabas had the same reservations when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away and when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam left this world. Now, just for the benefit of the brothers, probably more the younger brothers of the audience, I'll just mention a few things about the last few days of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's life on earth, and how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam left this world, and the state of the Sahabas and the companions during the death of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then what happened thereafterwards, which obviously led to Hazrat Uthman radhiyallahu anhu's concern coming to fruition. Now, it's mentioned that when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came back from the farewell Hajj, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, knew that his mission and his time on earth had come to an end. He knew that the mission was now complete. He knew that there was no need for him to stay any more extra in this world. Furthermore, some verses were revealed, such as إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحُ وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ إِنَّهُ كَانَ تَوَّابًا. That many companions like Ibn Abbas anhu interpreted this surah to refer to Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's death, that soon Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was going to pass away. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam knew that soon he was going to leave this world. Now, it's mentioned that in the last 10 days of the month of Safar, once Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam woke up in the middle of the night, and he told his slave Abu Muhayba to go and take him to the graveyard, Jannatul Baqi. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam went to the graveyard Jannatul Baqi in the middle of the night. He prayed for the deceased. And then when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam returned home that particular night, that's when Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam fell ill. Now during his illness, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his Shia akhlaq and manners was such that he tried his best to go and visit every single wife, because at that time there were 9 wives Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had. So he would go and visit every single wife, spend a night with them. But the pain and the difficulty became too unbearable. So he then took permission from all the wives and he said that if you allow me, I want to spend the days of my illness and sickness in the house of Sayyida Aisha radhiyallahu anha. So it's mentioned that the last Monday, because Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away on a Monday, but the Monday before, the 7 days before, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam went into Sayyida Aisha radhiyallahu anha's house, and he remained in her house all the way until the following Monday when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away. Now during his illness, there were quite a few incidents. There was also a very famous incident which is mentioned in Sahih al-Bukhari, known as the incident of Qirtas. And Qirtas literally means paper or book. And some of you brothers may have heard that what happened was that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was on his bed and he requested the companions that, can you bring a book or some paper so I could write some points down, I could write some things down so that you can act upon. So Sayyidina Umar radhiyallahu anhu, who was there, he said to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Prophet of Allah, you're too ill, you're too sick. There's no need for you to write anything down because we have Kitabullah and we have the Sunnah. So there's no need for you to give us any extra information. Whereas some other companions were saying that no, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked for some paper, let's give some paper, let's write these kind of orders down. But what happened was that there was some kind of argument between the companions, which then led to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying that, okay, that's enough, don't bring the paper. And he told the Sahabas and the companions to go. But when they were going, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave some advice in terms of, one of the advice he gave was that the mushrikeens, the pagans, they should be expelled from the Arabian Peninsula. Also number 2, the second advice Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave was that any kind of delegations who come, you should give them some hadiyah, some kind of gifts when they are leaving. And the third thing is not mentioned in the hadith of Sahih al-Bukhari, but some of the scholars have then said that, the third thing which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned was to act upon the Quran, to act upon the Sunnah, to be kind to neighbors, so on and so forth. So this was the advice Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave to the Sahabas and the companions. Now on the Thursday, before Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam he passed away on a Monday, but on the Thursday before he passed away, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam prayed the Zuhr Salah with Jamaat, with congregation, and after the Zuhr Salah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam then gave a sermon and a khutbah. So this was the final sermon Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam giving to the Sahabas and to the companions. And again, he kind of reiterated the points I mentioned before, that the mushrikeen should be expelled from Makkah, not from Makkah, but from the Arabian Peninsula, and also, also ordered, there was a particular expedition which was about to leave of Usama bin Zayd radhiyallahu anhu. So he encouraged the Sahaba that this expedition should go ahead, and so on and so forth. Then afterwards, the last prayer Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam prayed was the Maghrib of that day. For Isha, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam became really ill. He tried his best to get up from his bed, but as soon as he would stand, he would collapse. He would then stand up again to go to the masjid and lead the Isha, but he would collapse. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked Hazrat Aisha that, have the companions or the Sahabas have prayed the Isha yet? So Sayyida Aisha then replied by saying, no, they're waiting for you. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam then told Sayyida Aisha radhiyallahu anha that order Abu Bakr radhiyallahu anhu to lead the Isha prayer, which is also a sign as well at the same time that he should be the first Khalifa after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's death and demise. So this continued until the Saturday. The Sunday, his illness became a bit more serious and severe, all the way up to the Monday. Now, on the Monday morning, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he got up from his bed, from his bistar. He opened the curtains and he saw the companions and the Sahabas praying their Fajr. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam looked at them and he smiled. And as mentioned in the hadith of Sahih al-Bukhari, that the companions, they saw with the corner of their eyes Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam looking at them. And the hadith says that the companions thought that they were now going to be put to trial of this. In other words, they were thinking, shall we break our salah and look at Abu sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or shall we continue with our salah? So obviously they decided to continue with their prayer. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam then closed the curtain, and that was the last they saw of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. After the prayer, some Sahabas, they went to Sayyidah Aisha, then asked her, how's Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam doing? So she replied by saying that he's feeling a bit more better now. Sayyidina Abu Bakr anhu, obviously listening to what she said, then left Medina Munawwara and went to the outskirts of Medina, because he had another wife, so it was her turn. So he thought, because Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is feeling a bit more better today, I'll go to the outskirts of Medina and see my other wife. Now what happened was that in mid-morning, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam slowly started feeling ill again. And he then rested, or he then placed his blessed head on the lap of Sayyidah Aisha radhiyallahu anha. And at the same time, Sayyidah Aisha radhiyallahu anha's brother, Abdurrahman bin Abi Bakr radhiyallahu anhu, walked in and he had a miswak in his hand. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gestured to the miswak. Sayyidah Aisha radhiyallahu anha realized that, okay, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wanted to use the miswak. So Sayyidah Aisha then asked Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that, do you want the miswak? So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam nodded with his head that he wants to use the miswak. When Sayyidah Aisha then got his miswak, Sayyidah Aisha then asked Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that, do you want me to chew the miswak to make it soft? So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam again nodded that, yes, make it soft for me. So Sayyidah Aisha then chewed the miswak for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, handed it over to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was doing the miswak. And then he kept on saying, Allahumma fir rafiqil a'la, which means, oh Allah, take me to the highest companions. Rafiqil a'la means, take me to the highest companions. And then it's elaborating another hadith of Sahih al-Bukhari, that is mentioned that every prophet or messenger is given a choice of to stay in this world or to go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like for you and I, when angel of death comes, he'll take our soul, no ifs or buts. But when he comes to a prophet or a messenger, he gives him a choice. That, do you want to leave this world or do you want to stay in this world? So when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam kept on saying, Allahumma fil rafiqil a'la, oh Allah, take me to the highest companions, Sayyidah Aisha then realized that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had chosen Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over the dunya. And it's mentioned that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had his hands raised, and then obviously when the soul was taken from his body, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's hands collapsed. So this was the last moments of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's life, obviously when the news broke out that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had left this world. So you can imagine the panic and the feeling the Sahabas went through. Everybody knows how Umar radhiyallahu anhu was when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away, that he got his sword down. He said that anybody who says that Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has passed away, I'm going to chop his head off. There were Sahabas who were literally, Sayyidina Ali radhiyallahu anhu, he fainted because he's crying so much that he collapsed to the floor. He fainted. Other Sahabas like that as well, they were dumbfounded, they were shocked. Sometimes when things happen and you kind of dumbfounded, just still, and you can't look at anyone, you can't think of anything. There's so many millions and millions of thoughts going to mind. That's how the Sahabas were. And obviously, we shouldn't think, na'udhu bad of them, because what we would have done in that situation. The Sahabas were with Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They witnessed the miracles. They witnessed Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam coming with the wahi, coming with the revelation of the Holy Quran. So when they now saw that Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had left this world, they were now in total shock. totally dumbfounded, they were totally unaware of what to do. So this is what leads to the hadith here, that they were upset, hatta kada ba'duhum yuwaswis, to the extent that some now doubted what's going to happen to them. And unfortunately that's what happened, that certain groups after Prophet's passing started following other people who claim to be prophets and messengers. Everybody's heard of Musaylim al-Kadhdhab. There was other people, somebody called Tulayha, who also claimed to be a prophet and a messenger. So what happened was that people started following them, and some people unfortunately left the fold of Islam because of that. Others didn't. Others did follow other prophets, but then they came back. Others remained steadfast in their beliefs and in their love for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the companions. So this is what this hadith is referring to. Hatta kada ba'duhum yuwaswisu, until some of them yuwaswisu had some doubts and insinuations what's going to happen to them. So qala Uthman. Now the hadith then goes on to explain that Sayyidina Uthman who says, wa kuntum minhu, that I was from amongst them. In other words, I was also those who had the doubt, who was overcome by grief. I also had the doubt that what's going to happen to me. فَبَيْنَ أَنَا جَالِسٌ مَرَّ عَلَيَّ عُمَرْ وَسَلَّمَ فَلَمْ أَشْعُرْ بِهِ. Now the hadith then goes on to explain that Sayyidina Uthman was like totally dumbfounded. He was totally at sea. He wasn't sure what to do. So he was sitting when Sayyidina Umar anhu came and gave him salams. Said Assalamu alaikum. But Sayyidina Uthman anhu did not reply to the salam. Now why didn't he reply to the salam? Is because he was so overcome by grief. He was in so much doubt that what's going to happen to him. Sometimes it happens that when you're not there, when you got things on your mind, that somebody may just give you a salam and you don't reply to him. Now you're not replying to him because you don't like him. You're not replying to him because you got so many thoughts in your mind, so many difficulties that it totally slips your mind to reply to that particular salam. So exactly as well that Sayyidina Umar anhu gave salams, Sayyidina Uthman anhu did not respond to the salam. فَاشْتَكَى عُمَرُ إِلَى أَبِي بَكْرَ عَنْهُمَا ثُمَّ أَقْبَلَ حَتَّى سَلَّمَا عَلَيَّ جَمِيعًا. Then the hadith then goes on to explain that Sayyidina Umar anhu complained to Abu Bakr anhu, complained to him and said that look, I gave him salam, I Hazrat Uthman, but he didn't reply to the salam. So what happened? They both now come to Sayyidina Uthman anhu. They explained to him that look, Umar anhu gave you salam, why didn't you reply? So Uthman anhu responded by saying that look, I was unaware that he gave me salam. I was going through difficulty. I was going through this thought of what's going to happen. So Sayyidina Abu Bakr anhu responded by saying, Sadaqa Uthmanu qad shaghala an zalika amr. In other words, that Uthman anhu is speaking the truth, that yes, he didn't not reply to the salam because of personal reasons or because of a personal agenda. He did not reply to the salam because of the difficulty or the problem which he was experiencing. And thereafterwards, Sayyidina Abu Bakr anhu explains how to get rid of this particular difficulty. But obviously just in a nutshell, I'll just explain that the way to get rid of this difficulty meaning like when you are empty, in other words, like when you are overcome by grief, when you are, sometimes it happens with our Imaan as well, that we have some periods where our Imaan is low. So when we go through those periods, now the way to, what we should do to kind of boost our Imaan is, as we look at it some other time in a bit more detail, but the main thing is to concentrate on the tasbeehs, to concentrate on our prayers, or more importantly, anything which includes the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because as mentioned in the Holy Quran, Ala bi dhikrillah tatma'innul qulub, which means that through the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your hearts will be content. Now remembrance of Allah could be like your tasbeehat. You could be saying Allah, Allah after the prayers. It could be, say for example, praying salah regularly, or praying, increasing your salah. Because remember, salah is also a form of dhikrullah. Reciting Quran, that is also a form of dhikrullah. Even like attending lectures and bayans, that is also a form of dhikrullah, because when the scholars or imams are talking about the remembrance of Allah, talking about Quran and Sunnah, you remind yourself of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, don't you? So all these things comes under dhikrullah, fasting, zakat, sadaqat, reciting Quran, listening to talks, doing our tasbihats, tahajjud, all these things comes under dhikrullah. So as long as we kind of maintain these things, then inshallah our hearts will be content. So this is obviously we look at it a bit more detail for the brothers next week, but this in a nutshell was the advice Sayyidina Abu Bakr al-Anhu gave to Hazrat Usman al-Anhu to make him feel better and to eradicate the waswasas and the insinuations and the doubts he was going through. May Allah give us the tawfiq to what has been said. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah.